A video game lives or dies based off of how attached and loyal a player base is to that game, especially when that game is a competitive online game with a lot of rivals. As gamers, I think we can all agree that when we get attached to a game, it's hard to pull away and it's hard to kind of go out there and find a new game because you feel really connected to what you've already invested so much time in. We invest our time, our energy, and our money into these games over a long course of time, and that adds up into a very cumulative fashion. When we think about moving on from a game and quote-unquote quitting a video game, what do we really think about? Of course, we think about what we will get out of a new game, but in terms of what we already had, we think about the good times of the game, how much time we spent with that game, how much investment we have, how much mental investment we have, and of course how much we've spent inside that game or inside that in-game store in order to accumulate what that game had to offer. The more financial and mental investments we have in a game, the harder it is to pull away and the harder it is to justify picking up a new game in its place. This is why the free-to-play game exploded in popularity, because game makers figured out they could take advantage of this mental kind of frame of mind, basically. I talked a lot about how PUBG is failing in my last video, and I really wanted to analyze why that was the case. And for the most part, I think Fortnite is the main culprit. However, I think the real reason why it did fail, and it is failing right now, is the fact that people are just not attached to this game in the way that they are other video games. And the main reason for that is there is just absolutely no reason to continue playing through its progression system. This is kind of something I hit on in my prior video, but I did not talk about it enough. PUBG's progression system basically killed the game. Yes, there is a lot of other things wrong with the game that many people blame to be its downfall, including its connectivity and its bugs and its hacking and the problems with the Asia server, but deep down, why do people quit video games? Because there's something else out there that looks a little bit more attractive. And that happens when we don't get mentally and financially invested in a video game. The main problem with PUBG is the fact that there has been no reason to continue playing beyond the fact that you're just having fun in the game and you're pursuing the thrill of winning a match. There's no reason to go out and play the game to accumulate things in PUBG because there's really no progression system whatsoever. The only thing in the game is crates, which you can open for real money actually. So the game gives you money to buy crates, but then you have to buy keys off of Steam for $2.50 to open those crates. By itself, it's a completely irrelevant system that means nothing to progression because people have to pay in order to get those rewards. So is there really progression in PUBG? Absolutely not. This system of paying for access to crates would be completely okay in a free-to-play game, but of course PUBG charges $30 for access to the video game, so it's completely out of place, ridiculous, and kind of an insult to the gaming community who have spent many hours in PUBG. There are gamers out there who spend all day playing PUBG for what? Just basically to win a match. There's no reason to play the game beyond that because there's nothing to work towards or to get rewarded by. The only shred of dignity this system has is that weapon skins were introduced in March of this year, which was, by the way, way too late. And by that time, people had already moved on to Fortnite because there was just nothing to work for and towards just leading up to that moment. People had been waiting for some progression, some sort of reward system for months, let alone the year that people had been waiting for since they bought the early access version a long time ago. One of the cornerstones of getting people to play your video game and to stay attached to your video game is to make sure people are happy by way of giving them stuff for playing the game. It's called progression, and PUBG has absolutely none of that. Today, you can get yourself a handful of weapon skins, but those are obviously completely randomized, and the reward systems put in place are also randomized through 4 money crates. A proper reward system through customization and cosmetics was really important because many people play first person in PUBG, which means any customization or outfits or clothes you put on your characters really don't mean anything to first person shooting players because you don't actually see them on your character, you see just your gun. So it was absolutely crucial that a proper customization and progression system through weapon skins and weapon cosmetics be introduced early for these kinds of players, because FPP players don't really give a crap about clothes because they can't see them. So for the rest of us third-person players who do like cosmetic items in the game and we want progression and we want customization, how do we get those items? We have to pay for them after we already get the crates. How gosh darn stupid does that sound? Honestly, this is as simple as it gets for me, and I think the real reason why I just have lost so much attachment and loyalty to this game, because there's just nothing to work for. There's just nothing to work towards. I don't get rewarded, and the rewards I do get, they lock behind paywalls. This feels especially bad when I've already sunk $30 into a video game, and what do I get in return? Basically, no progression whatsoever, no customization whatsoever, and no real reward system. The reward for playing PUBG and winning a match is simply not enough because it doesn't happen every day. You won't win a game every day, so what do you need to fall back on to feel good about a game? Rewards, of course, rewards. This is something that has been instilled in our industry, in our culture, since the beginning of time. You've got to reward players so they feel good about playing your video game when they're not winning matches. I'm going to assume that something like 60 to 70% of PUBG players don't actually win consistent matches, so in order to make those players stay on board, you've got to reward them in some way, and you just don't get rewarded whatsoever in this game, and it feels just awful when you've sunk so much time into the game and the game just basically slaps you in your face and says, hey, there's nothing to work towards in this game. Breeding a successful and healthy player base and a progressive player base means that you need to nurture your player base from the get-go and make sure that players of all walks of life feel like they're having a good time in the game, feel like they're getting rewarded in the game, and feel like they can work towards stuff, just because the fact alone that not a lot of people are winning matches in PUBG. So for those people, they need encouragement to stay on board, and there's nothing in this game whatsoever. This entire mentality matches up perfectly with how the makers of PUBG handle community operations and how they communicate with their player base. They don't really communicate with us. They don't have roadmaps up online to show what the game is going to evolve into. They don't provide timely fixes. They don't address the hacking issues. They don't address the intercontinental issues of connectivity and why so many Asia players are playing on US servers, which by the way is a complete hassle for us because we can't communicate with our team, which gives us just basically a competitive disadvantage on the battlefield. Meaning if you queue into a squad as a single player, you are at a complete and utter disadvantage versus pre-made squads. And that is just scratching the surface with how this corporation treats its consumers and deals with transparency, which by the way, there really is no transparency with PUBG Corporation. But I think all of these issues would have been so much more workable if the game itself gave a reason for people to play, to stay on board, rewards, progression, some stuff to make us feel attached and feel loyal to the cause of a video game maker, because really, what happened with PUBG is that gamers themselves turned away from the game maker. There's too much direct conflict between the player base and the developer and the publisher, which basically has created an environment where you need a constant and good and progressive reward system to make sure those players can let that stuff go. If not let it go, then at least be more understanding to how much time it takes to fix these things. Therefore, there wouldn't have been such blow up towards the company from the player base. But because the game itself offers nothing to work towards and basically treats you like a money cow, conflict resulted, player bases declined, and players jumped ship towards Fortnite. Game makers out there, you gotta realize, if you want a healthy player base, you've gotta foster and nurture this mentality of rewards and games and making people feel good about them when they're not winning matches, because not everyone is winning a match of PUBG. You've got to have a good reward system in the game that makes people want to wake up and log into your game, and there's just nothing to compel people to do that with PUBG today, and hence it is failing in so many regards, not just in the fact that its player bases are basically drying up like the Mojave Desert. So for me, this is the real reason why PUBG is failing today. I am just not compelled to log in anymore because there is nothing to work towards. And that's a damn shame because PUBG has so much potential and I really love what the actual game offers me from a gameplay experience. But you know what? For more people than not, that is just not enough. So thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Once again, this is not a hate video for PUBG. I'm actually a PUBG player myself. I just lament how this game is just cycling out of control and just spinning out of control into what will probably be one of the biggest failures of this generation if this game continues its downward spiral. So drop me your comments down below, like the video if you liked it, and I'll see you guys in our next video. Peace, love, and happiness. Until then, you guys take care and have a great day.